What's going on, you guys? Charlie here from MAPerformance, and today we're doing a video that's a little bit different than the ones we've done in the past. In the past, we've obviously sat down in the studio and we've, written out a plan. But today, we're gonna be doing a little bit more run and gun. I wanted to go through all these different shop cars that we have out here and what's done to them and what we have planned for the rest of the year so that you guys know kind of what to expect from us. There's a couple cars that are actually missing from the lineup, so we'll go over that and more, so stick around. The first car we're actually going to talk about is the one right behind me, the one you guys may have actually heard about first from us. This is where a lot of the subscribers for our channel kind of came into play, and this is our 10th gen Honda Civic Si. First thing we're going to do here is look under the bonnet or hood, depending on where you live. And as you can tell, this thing is pretty custom. There's quite a bit done here. This was our drag race car. There's just quite a bit of figuring out to do with this car. I think the plan will be to get this back out on the track to make some passes this year. It's just a bit of a waiting game as to when. We've been doing a lot of head work and testing and tuning and things of that nature. So for the most part, it hasn't changed a lot from the last time you guys saw some setup, other than some of the head work we've done, which you don't get a great visual of. But the only other thing that's really vastly different is if you drop down here, you'll see we got this new carbon fiber Greddy lip that we put on the front. This is just one of those pieces that I think is a staple for every 10th gen. They all need this awesome Greddy lip. So that's been the biggest update outside of the head work. It's not as exciting as I wish for starting it off, so don't hate me in the comments, but there's quite a bit of work that has left to be done from the tuning and testing side, but otherwise not much has changed. And if you wanted to get a full in-depth tour of this car and everything that's done to it, check out the video we've got right up there. On to the next car. The first one that we'll talk about is our VA chassis Subarus. So we've got the VA WRX. This one here is actually bone stock, and that is because we have a new 2022 WRX, the VB chassis WRX. Done a lot of work with this. We've developed a ton of parts. We've definitely done our fair share of having fun with this car, and now we've restored a lot of things, replaced a lot of things back to stock so that we can sell it and make room for something else, which is coming soon. So the next VA chassis Subaru is the one down on the other end, and that's the VA STI. As you can tell, it has the stock wheels on it, but it is lowered. I want to say that this car has the Fortune Auto coilovers. Is it unlocked? It is. It's not how you stand by your car, it's how you pop the hood on your car. The real trick will be figuring out, if I can remember, how to literally open all these different hoods today. So as we can see here, it does have the Fortune Auto 500 series coilovers in the car, a suite of engine bay dress-up bits from our friends over at Grimspeed, plus the bonus Cobb alternator cover. Outside of that, it's got some stock airbox components, the MAPerformance downpipe and catback, but it will obviously be transitioning to the new MAPerformance intake that is soon to be released. So outside of that, this is a car that we did a build on. It was like stage 2 in a day, I think was the name of the video. Feel free to check that out, where we added this front lip and all the other parts that really made it what we would consider a stage 2 build. There's a couple other neat little trinkets on there, like the MAPerformance battery tie down. I don't know if this is something that's officially been put out, released yet, but it's been on here for quite a while. So I'm excited for that one to be released if it hasn't been already, along with I don't know why, what's that logo on down?
It looks like General Electric.
It looks like a General Electric badge that someone just put on there. But this is one of our new oil caps. It's going to be a billet oil cap that'll be coming out. That's part of a suite of products for a handful of different cars. But these two, there's one other car that's potentially less interesting than these, but in my opinion, these are kind of the ones that, for the most part, do more R&D work than more interesting, fun marketing stuff, at least these days. Maybe they'll put out a new STI and then this one will get sold soon, but otherwise, this car is remaining in the fleet for some time. Let's move on to the next car. The next car is actually inside, and we might team up with our friend here to see if he's working on it. Do you want to help me? Well, The next car on our list is this Evo 10, the red one that you guys probably don't see much of on our channel.
Can you hear me okay?
All right, so this is the Evo 10. This has been used as a car that really gets mostly like loaned out to people when we borrow their cars for R&D purposes, right?
Yeah, so this car is kind of like an intermediary car, I guess you could call it. It's used for a lot of development, but also kind of a shop loaner and just like a, hey, need to run to the store kind of car, just an all-around. I guess you could call it like a daily driver for the shop would be the best way to put it. So,
but the most interesting thing about it is that it's got a really overbuilt engine and a really sick valve cover piece that it pains me to see sit in an engine bay unused. So
yeah, this car has pretty much every single part we offer, and then some parts that we would like to eventually offer. The only thing this car doesn't have on it is our power
steering reservoir.
Yeah,
that's what I was just going to say.
Power steering reservoir is the only thing that's missing from this equation.
I think there's one other piece. Do we still have the IRP shifter in this car?
I actually just took that one.
He just took the IRP shifter out, but that was one of my favorite pieces on this car.
Sitting right there.
It feels super nice, and it's literally laying on the ground because Tiny was just working on it. But this thing's super dope. If you've got an Evo 10 and you still have a stock shifter, this is one of those things you should for sure pick up. And I would like to convey now that this should definitely make its way into our black car.
It's already on its way there. So this car actually will be potentially for sale relatively soon.
I think it will be for sure for sale
if not
within the next month or so.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next car. That's enough about this one. It's not even one that we really focused on. We spent way too much time talking about it. We're gonna go talk about the black Evo 10, the ultimate Evo 10, if you will. This may be one of those cars that you guys also started following us and subscribing to our channel because of. It was actually the first car that I built here at MAP. But let's dive into this thing a little bit. This is the ultimate Evo 10.
I would say this was the ultimate Evo 10.
It started off as a salvage title car that we got as like the cheapest Evo 10 in the nation. Like quite literally, I think that was like the outline of the first video script was like find the cheapest possible Evo and make it better. And
successfully did that.
So here's the rundown. Car's got Öhlins Road and Track coilovers, Girodisc two-piece rotors, currently sitting on the Inovia Elder wheels that were kind of placeholder wheels that found their way onto this car. It used to have the Hyper Blue TE37s that you'll see on the next car in a minute. The APR GTC 300 wing on the back, along with what would be the matching APR carbon fiber front splitter on this front bumper that has sat here for a long time, along with some really sweet Rex Speed canards. We went ahead and did the V-Land headlights and matching taillights. Yeah, it was, because I had to pop the hood on this car like 90 times. And it's in a normal spot, not a stupid fucking Subaru spot. So if you look on this car, this one definitely has the power steering reservoir that was missing from the other one. Again, this car's been sitting for a long time. It's also got this really awesome Turbo Smart blow-off valve. That's actually where I got this hat from that I'm wearing today, coincidentally, was from when we did this project.
So, similar setup in a way. This is a stock 4B11, same investment cast manifold, same deal, all of our charge pipes. This is the 3-inch intake, not the 3.5 aluminum. The last appearance it made in was October. When was the Ultimate Driver experience?
Not last year, but the year before, so 2021?
2021.
October of 21?
Yep, so the last time this car appeared would have been that video, and it only made it through half of the video because yours truly, Dalen and I, held some...
It was actually just Tiny.
No, we had a wager. We had a little drag race wager, and I went to go stage the car and launch it, and I let my foot off the clutch, and the
clutch decided to say sayonara.
Yeah, the clutch went, but the car didn't. And since then, it's just kind of been parked and put on the back burner. We don't use this car for development because we have the red car.
There's been about 6 or 7 different times where we've literally slated this as a project to tie up again. And like, it's kind of sad to see it sitting around here. Again, it was the first project car that I think I was ever a part of planning here. First one I think we really did well on our YouTube channel. To see it just kind of sit around makes me a little bit sad. I got a lot of fun memories of us wrenching around trying to get that exhaust manifold off.
We'll get this car back on a track-worthy condition, get a good clutch in it that's not going to break when I try and launch it, because I mean, what do you own an all-wheel drive car for other than just letting her eat from a dig. I don't know what else. There's nothing else to do. And there's some that come and
I think
go.
our builds got progressively better as time went on, and I think was the Q60 the next build that we did, or was it the Type-R?
I guess the Q60 doesn't have a ton of stuff on it either, but
It does. It has the full RA500 kit from AMS. Well, it had
right,
at
but
the
that's
time.
you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not a big turbo kit.
Let's go look at the Q60. That's the next car, and it has the old wheels from the Evo 10. The next build is the Q60. This was a partnership build that we did with our homies over at AMS. Shout out to you guys. Miss you long time. Love you. We were in preparation really for the release of the Nissan Z, and this was back at the beginning of 21 or 2020, something like that, a few years ago. And the idea was that the Z was supposed to release super quickly. It was like Q1 of that year we were going to build this car, and like Q2, Q3 was supposed to be the Z, and we were going to be super ready for that to come out because they share a lot of similarities. So we wanted it to make at least 500 horsepower. We knew that there was potential for that with the AMS RA500 kit. So we got the full suite of parts to complete the RA500 kit. We put on some BC coilovers with our friends over at AMS. We have currently the TE37s on there that were on the Evo 10. During the build process, this car did have those Inovia Elders on it. The car definitely needs a front lip of sorts. We don't necessarily have a lot planned. We did just release our catback exhaust for it, so the car's mainly been used for, you know, R&D purposes. But I would love to go in and do the 370Z manual transmission swap on this, do that wide body kit, maybe turn this into more of like a show car while we focus on some other stuff. But I mean, yeah, this is the Q60. It's a great car. It's got quite a bit of stuff done to it. We just pulled the engine to do some maintenance, like head gaskets and stuff, because at 80,000 miles and 500 horsepower, this thing was definitely leaking some coolant. Shout out to Dalen and I for making that happen. Otherwise, you know, great car. I wish the trans was better, which is where the 370Z manual swap comes into play. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next car, I think. I think the next one should be the one next to it. Let's do the BRZ. So this is the 2022 Subaru BRZ. It does also have a slight amount of front end damage here. We've got a new bumper, plus we've also got an HKS wide body kit just literally waiting to get put on the car and get painted. So we've got a new bumper on order, and the HKS kit is here, so we've just got to get everything painted, send this thing in to get it done, and we'll be putting that kit on the car for some road racing and otherwise just like show attendance and event attendance throughout the summer, spring, summer, fall. So stay tuned if you want to see this really awesome HKS BRZ make it to an event near you. But this car does have the evolved coilovers on it, the MAPerformance catback, a prototype MAPerformance header that should be coming soon, along with these 57 Extreme Spec D raise wheels. I can't remember the specs on these, but like most of our cars, it's also running a set of Falcon tires. These, I believe, are the Azenis 510s, so not the super aggressive track tire, but more of like a daily driver type of tire setup. And then it does also have the HKS duckbill trunk lid on it, which in my opinion looks super great. Outside of that, the car did end up getting an IRP shifter similar to the one that you guys saw us look at with Tiny in there for the Evo 10, obviously for the BRZ. It's actually designed for the first gen BRZ, but it obviously fits on here because the lockout button's on the top and not kind of pulling up. So we're good to go there. And I mean, that's about it for this car. It doesn't need a whole lot of work to be a really fun road race capable car. So it's kind of stayed mostly stock. The next one we'll do here is probably going to be, we should do the Type-R. You guys have probably seen a lot about this car on our channel over the last couple of weeks. We built this car to make about 500 horsepower just recently. It actually made over 500 horsepower, but we've since then sort of done some reliability tuning, kind of taken it back just a little bit, and I think it's sitting at like 498 from 505. So it makes 500 horsepower for all intents and purposes. That's what I'm writing down, and that's what I'm saying here on the record. This did have the RT 660 tires on it, but those became incredibly bald after a handful of track days, and we ended up not being able to drive it at an event. So we talked to the mobile tire changer guy who had an exact spec of some Kenda KR20s. Otherwise, we have some other stuff planned. Again, it has the PRL P700 turbo kit on here. It also has the Honda fueling upgrade setup. It does have a prototype MAPerformance shift knob. Hopefully those are coming out really, really soon. And then on top of that, we ended up with like a radium coolant overflow tank. At the time, I want to say this also had Olin. Oh no, this has the HKS Hypermax coilovers in here. It does have an MAPerformance intake, downpipe, and catback on there. We've tested multiple different types of intercoolers as we've been R&Ding our own, but didn't want to just put something out there for the sake of putting something out there. We wanted to actually add value. And this is also the set of wheels that I realized the value of ceramic coating with, if you can't tell. Outside of that, the appearance of the car is relatively stock. I think the only thing we have done is put these different side markers on. Outside of that, like, not much else really done to the car. The Type-R really is the best car in the sense that it doesn't need a whole lot to be a fun car to drive. And this is a perfect example of just that. Let's move on to the next one. The last build to really go over is our most recent one, and it's the one that's obviously the most different from anything else. It's our Overland WRX. Now, if you love the Type-R, I'd be curious to know if you just hate the WRX. Because it's pretty polarizing in opinions. A lot of people are like, I hate the new WRX, but this actually looks kind of proper. I love it. I think it's a super fun car to drive. It's super confidence inspiring. And if I owned a VB WRX, I think I would have a winter setup like this and a summer setup that's obviously lowered and more set up and ideal for track use. But with that being said, this car does have the Eibach. We actually got them as a prototype set. They are now since available for sale, but it's the Eibach lift kit. It's actually just some springs. So the lift springs go on your stock suspension. Otherwise, we have the 1552 Metrix MX wheels, Falcon Wild Peak tires. It has an MAPerformance catback, an MAPerformance prototype downpipe that's not quite yet available for sale. It's running a stock intake, but at the time it did have a Perrin intake. We've also got a whole suite of Perrin parts, dress-up things underneath the hood, along with this prototype MAPerformance light bar mixed with the Diodynamics S3 pod lights and wiring kit. It's not specific to this chassis, but it is a kit that they offer for sale. We also have it on our website. The light bar is not quite available yet, and we're actually not even quite sure if we're going to make it or not. It's just one of those things that's a little bit outside of our normal wheelhouse, but it really definitely helped pull together the overall look in combination with the roof rack that's on here. This is actually some VA Subaru roof rails with, I don't know if we told anybody, but this is just a really cheap rack from literally Harbor Freight. It's $100 on their website. Outside of that, the car does have the Cobb Stage 1 drivetrain upgrade package. So for those of you who don't know, that's just a shifter plate and a stop guide on the side, along with I think it comes with the Cobb knob. And then it also does have the shifter bushing, that's right. Outside of that, it does have the Cobb intercooler. It does have the Cobb access port, just like all the other Subarus do have and do need. But outside of that, the car's been left mainly stock outside of some Rally Armor mud flaps. We do have some other parts in the works for this. Our friends over at Diodynamics have some really awesome pieces on their way to us that are going to fit on the rear of the car, so excited to see those come in, along with a handful of other things. And who knows, we might be reverting this one back to a lowered, wider setup here in the future, a lower, wider, paint matched setup. But otherwise, I mean, this is all of the shop cars. Let's take a step back over this way so we can really give them the big picture. We get asked a lot, especially if you drive, I drive some of these cars, Tiny drives, we all drive these cars every now and again. And I think people ask me on a super regular basis how many different cars I own. And obviously none of these are my cars, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different shop cars. And we're pretty blessed in that sense that we get to have fun and mess around with all these different cars. They're all usable in very different ways. And I know that there's also a car that's missing from the lineup that we haven't yet covered, and that would be the 11th gen Honda Civic Si, which should be getting to us in the near future. As we've already been developing parts with loaner cars, catbacks, downpipes are in the works, things of that nature. And I believe we're actually going to be releasing the catback in May of 23. So at the time of watching this. That's only a few weeks away, if I'm not mistaken. So outside of that, you guys have to let us know what else you want to see us do with our shop cars. You can catch us in some local events, maybe some cars and crafts. It's not like arts and crafts, it's actually like craft beer. So you can catch us out at a lot of those events, some different grid life things over the summer, and who knows, maybe we'll get to take you for a ride in one of our shop cars. Otherwise, let us know what else you want to see. Until then, peace.